the burden they bore, and the country they made. Because this, too, is why we're here, why we remember.
The sound checks and the preparations continue all around the Vimy Monument ahead of tomorrow's big event marking 100 years since the start of the fighting.
I've been here half a dozen or more times now, and it never disappoints, this place. It is overwhelming in terms of its significance to our country when you...
100 years in the making. This was always going to be a day that would draw thousands.
The Battle of Vimy Ridge was not just any other military conflict in World War I, but a monumental moment in the history of Canada. The fight between divisions of the Canadian Corps and the German 6th Army took place over 3 days from April 9th to April 12th of 1917, as nearly 100,000 soldiers poured from trenches, valiantly ready to execute their plan and capture the ridge. The Canadians surpassed all odds in securing the German-held land. 100 years later, we look back at Vimy as the moment that birthed this beautiful nation of ours.
For me, the most memorable part of this trip was when we saw the graves of the Newfoundland Regiment, the Royal Newfoundland Regiment, and we saw from the marked graves, we saw the names of 60 sets of brothers. That meant that 120 men have lost their lives.
It's important to remember because our history is what makes up our values. And being here is much different than learning about our history in textbooks, because as you can see, there are so many people who sacrificed their lives for a better life in Canada.
Peaceful nature forged in the atrocities of war. The unity of the forces struck a chord in communities across the nation. The Battle of Vimy Ridge persists as a symbol of Canadian achievement and sacrifice. It was this Canadian masterclass that thrusted us onto the world stage. More than our ability to succeed, it was a show of courage and endurance that resonated around the globe. Traits now synonymous with the Canadian identity.
It was important to me to go to Juno Beach because my grandfather landed there and he is still alive. He's 95 years old. I went to visit him a couple weeks ago and he told me all of these stories, how he watched his friends get killed in front of him, and it was just so emotional going there because this is the place where he landed so many years ago.
The Battle of Vimy is undoubtedly a historic moment and should forever be remembered as the battle that incited the growth of Canada as a country. We must remember the soldiers who fought at Vimy, the heroic individuals that walked into arms of danger in order to provide us an opportunity to live in the nation we do today. As such, it is important to live our lives in appreciation of those who fought and to honor them by keeping true to the Canadian identity they were so instrumental in creating.
Through death itself, and who, in that offering, stood by their country and made their country in its beginnings. They were Canadians, and they were valiant beyond measure. Honor them.